1. When I was between 20 and 23, I was in my first somewhat long-term relationship, and my first relationship in which we lived together. It was a bit rocky. We both caused a lot of problems in the relationship, but we finally broke up when I found out my boyfriend had been cheating on me regularly. He had also been lying about working an unpaid internship that would have transitioned to a job, which allowed him to spend hours going out with other women, and excused his lack of income. So I was partly supporting him financially, along with his mom, who he was also lying to. Even though my relationship with him was never stable, his mom loved me, and would often openly take my side when we were fighting. She had 4 sons and no daughters, and she told me she considered me the daughter she never had. So when the cheating and lying was uncovered, it wasn't hard to get her to take my side. She was the person I went crying to, and told her that this is the sort of thing you cry about to your mom, and since I don't have a relationship with my own mom, I was glad she was there for me to talk to. She was, of course, furious with him for lying to us both, effectively scamming us out of our money, and for cheating on me. Even when he complained to her about everything I had done wrong in the relationship, she refused to believe him because in her eyes, I could do no wrong. She sat him in front of a computer and made him apply for jobs in front of her, then supervised his job search process the way one might supervise a child cooking for the first time. Once he found a job, she made him pay us both back for the money we spent supporting him while he was lying to us. After he finished paying us back and moved out of her place, she spoke to him rarely and was very clear that she no longer trusted him. She even warned his next girlfriend that he was a cheater, and from what I've since heard, she was right to, as he has apparently cheated on other girlfriends since. She and I remained close until she passed away 2 years ago. She was one of the maybe 3 people I've ever felt I could truly be vulnerable with. She was the only person I told about a particularly difficult mental health situation I was going through, and I really did start to see her as a surrogate mother. 2. Let it be known that this story isn't coming from someone delivering malicious complaints, but rather I was the victim. Dun dun dun! In all seriousness, it's a funny story that me and my mother look back fondly on. To preface this, I had a bit of a drinking problem when I was a child. No, not with alcohol, but with soda. As a kid, whenever we go out to eat, my drink of choice was Dr. Pepper, Pib Extra, or similar drinks like that. Throughout the waiting time, dinner, and as we're finishing up and waiting for the check, I would get refill after refill. My mother would comment that I drink like a fish. You get the idea. This happened in a local Mexican restaurant and bar where we had a family dinner. It was me, my sister, my mother, and my stepfather and stepbrother at the time. We sat at the table and ordered our meals. By the time our plates were brought to the table, I had already downed 2 tall glasses of soda. As we were eating our meals, I would get refill after refill of more and more soda. When I had asked the waiter for my 5th, maybe 6th refill, my mother was understandably annoyed. Most likely, the waiter was even more annoyed having to go back and forth so frequently just to quench my thirst. But then he had an idea. With none of us the wiser, he plotted some juicy revenge. While we were finishing up, the waiter had snuck to the bar to find the biggest beer mug he could find, one that can hold a gallon of liquid. Then he went to the soda fountain to fill that mug up to the brim. To add insult to injury, he even grabbed like 5 ice cubes and plopped them in. He presented his masterpiece of karma right in front of me with a smug look. He put my straw in. That straw just sank to the bottom, as it was just too short for this absolute pool of soda. My entire table was just howling with laughter as I sat there, mouth agape, and taking it all in. I soon regained enough composure to jokingly say, "Now that's more like it," laughing through my embarrassment. I barely had a sip from that cup before deciding I'm done. My relatives commended the waiter for making their day, while I apologized for my gluttony. We still go back to the restaurant from time to time, talking about that event like the fond memory it is. Of course, I don't drink as much anymore, and try to keep my sodas in moderation, going for the zero sugar ones or even drinking alternatives like tea. Looks like revenge is best served cold. 3. This happened a few days ago at work. I work as a monitor in a company that sells wholesale. We have rotating schedules, so if we have activities outside of work, we have to notify them in advance so they can adjust our schedule. It turns out that this is not the first time that they have told me that I should have given more notice, so a week before the next week's schedules were made, I informed my leader about all my activities for the month. He clearly didn't like this, so she told me to send it to her in writing, so she could remember and consider it for the schedules. Well, if it had happened like that, I wouldn't be here. I decided to rest on a Sunday because that day I had baking classes, and to come in the morning on Tuesday. When I saw the schedules, I got angry, as she always did what she wanted. She gave me my rest on Tuesday, and on Sunday she left me in the afternoon from 2:30 to 11 p.m. My baking class was from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., so it was literally making me choose between my class and coming to work. I was upset because it wasn't the first time it had happened, and I always ended up trying to convince other classmates to change the schedule or break so I could do my activities. I was tired of always looking for solutions for things she did wrong, and she also had the impudence to take her rest on Sunday. Here comes my malicious fulfillment. I decided to pretend that I never saw the schedules and missed Sunday. I hate uploading statuses to my WhatsApp, but I decided that this time it was a special situation. So I started uploading statuses from my baking class. When I saw that my leader knew my status, I knew that I had won. When it was 3 in the afternoon, my boss, my leader superior, asked me why I had been absent. I told her that I had not seen the schedules, and that since I did what the leader asked me to do, which was to notify her in time and send her my schedule in writing, I assumed that she had respected it. I knew that I was going to ask my leader, but I also knew that she has a reputation as a liar, and I knew that she would try to twist things in her favor. So I sent her a screenshot of the conversation in which I told her in detail about my activities. She thanked me and didn't say anything to me. The next day I found out that she was cautioned for that, and I got away with it without any repercussions. Then she tried to justify herself to me by saying that my boss had not approved the schedule, but it is evident that is a lie. I know they're not going to pay me that day I was absent, but it was worth it to get her scolded, and let's see if she understands that if they don't respect my schedule, I'm just going to be absent, and I'm not going to try to fix their nonsense anymore. For those wondering what happened next, I did not have any retaliation. That day I received a message from the manager of my area. She is above my leader, wondering why I missed work. I told her that I didn't know that I should work because I had already spoken with the leader, and told her that I had sent it to her in writing as she had requested, and I attached the evidence. The next day I found out that the leader was reprimanded by my area manager for not paying attention to those details, and now my manager is in charge of talking to her whenever I need a specific time to see my free time is respected. 4. This story happened just over a month ago. I started attending a new university back in September, and with new places comes new living spaces, which in turn comes with new flatmates. All started off fine and dandy, but around December time, and especially over Christmas break, the effort being put into doing the dishes was minimal. By January, some people were doing less than that even, and their stuff kept on piling up in the corner of the shared kitchen. Our flat of 8 people was starting to become more agitated by the piling mess, and feeling more and more frustrated by the lack of action, and more guilty for the cleaners who had come to deal with our mess. Their job is not to do our dishes, so the dishes remained in the corner, but it is embarrassing to present it in such a state. One in particular, Cassie, was particularly vocal about the mess, and as time went on we were able to narrow down much more of the mess to 2 of the others, James and Emily. By late February, I'd had enough and sent an ultimatum to the flat group that to clean up the mess within a week or have it claimed as my own. Credit where it's due, James did identify some of his own stuff in this mess and cleaned up accordingly. A week and a half later, however, much of the mess still remained, so I did what I said I would. That was probably the most strenuous 2 hours of my time there, and some of the Tupperware was so coated in filth that it was literally unsalvageable. Shortly after my cleaning bonanza, I took a picture of everything I'd claimed and sent it to the group chat with the following message, and I'm paraphrasing in this segment. I did what I said I would and claimed your stuff as my own. Some of these dishes have been lying neglected for 2 months. Some of the mess was so dirty it was unsalvageable. I'm not your cleaning lady, so while you may claim your stuff back, I will keep it for at least a week so that you learn your lesson. Never do this again. Cassie reacted almost immediately with a laughing reaction, and I knew my PettyRevenge was justified. While nothing was claimed for 2 weeks after the date for beginning to reclaim their items, Emily did eventually collect a bunch of her stuff. Nevertheless, a month and a half on, half the mess remains clean and tidy under my bed, and with the exception of 1 bowl, this incident has not cropped up again. 5. So we're freshers at a university in a Midlands town, and there are 14 of us sharing a kitchen. 4 fridges, 2 freezers, allocated cupboards. It's all good. None of us have lived away from home before, but most have worked out that you can't just rock up and take what you want without asking. But not her. Braun. Braun figures anything left unsealed is basically fair game. Splash out of someone else's milk? Sure. Little scrape of butter for the toast? Why not? Braun won't leave you with an empty tub or bottle, but she'll nibble away at everything you own until you're down to the penultimate serving. This begins to bug me. I keep waking up to find I've been left with enough milk for cereal or tea, and being British, denial of either is an assault on basic human rights. Buddy, let's call him Dunk, says, "Don't worry, you can have some of my bread for toast. I mean, it's the same terrible, blandest 8-pence sliced supermarket loaf every student buys. But at this point, it's life or death. Death, as it turns out, because Braun's left him with 3 slices in the bag, and 2 of them are ends. We've got 9 months left of hauls before moving into smaller groups, and decide something needs to be done. The thing is, Braun is militant about her stuff. You can't even move a jar in the fridge without her wanting to know who touched it and why. Straightforward tit-for-tat revenge would be tantamount to direct confrontation. And pair above, we are British. So, enter the PettyRevenge. Every couple of nights, long after all have gone to sleep, Dunk and I pop into the kitchen to rifle the bread supplies. We only take a slice at a time, and we only ever take from our own bags. But we always add it to Braun's loaf. Sometimes we have to shuffle her bag to make sure the far end doesn't get stale. We've become quite expert at keeping the bread uniformly fresh. And whilst she occasionally notices the loaf is perhaps a millimeter out of location, she never thinks to check if it's grown. After 3 months, we are adding at least 2 slices a day. It's probably costing us more in stolen butter than bread, with all the toast she's making. But by this time, Braun has completely accepted that a terrible medium-sized supermarket loaf will last her about 3 weeks. Come the end of the year, we begin pairing up and flat hunting. Dunk and I take a converted bedsit in an old Victorian street. Braun goes 4 ways on a house a few doors down with 3 mates. Revenge is about to be served, about a month in. There's a blazing row going on at theirs, which ends with her new boyfriend running out the door with a rucksack full of stuff and her shouting, "Stop stealing my bread!" Consolations are given, the room is re-rented. But before another month passes, her best mate leaves. By the time the summer rolls around, Braun's place has seen maybe 10 different tenants. Nobody sticks it out for more than 12 weeks. Dunk and I have taken to whistling the Hovis advert as we pass her door each morning. We lose sight of her after Christmas. But the tales of upset continue to reach us through mutual friends and, of course, mates. Hellfreezer's note, a little disappointed to see the shame being thrown toward the outside of the bread, the heel of the bread, as some like to call it. Those are, of course, the best part. If I could get a loaf of just the outsides, a happy freezer I would be. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Revenge is Ice Cream, episode 349. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, please do poke the like button, or hit the like button, whatever phrase it is that gets it to highlight as I say that. That was a thing at one point. And share the video with friends and family and your favorite soda companies. I'm sure they'd love to hear it. Probably want to hire me in an ad or something. I would totally do Dr. Pepper. That sounded weird. Anyway, moving on. If you'd like to get these videos a little bit earlier, that's fairly easy to do. You can support me on my Patreon page, which is linked in the description. Do that for as little as $1 or more if you'd like a month, and you'll get the videos all at once on a Monday. You'll also find a link in the description to the Hellfreezer merchandise store over on Teespring. There is also a link to the Hellfreezer Discord if you'd like to join that. And if you really enjoyed today's video, why not leave a tip? You can do that by clicking on the heart with a $sign underneath. You don't need to do that, though I do very much appreciate it, and it is helpful. Okay. I don't think we've any other business today, no shoutouts and such, so let's move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is... I was going to ask why the birds were chirping, but it is 7:20 in the morning, so yeah, that's about right. Let's tag on from, well, I don't know when the video went up, but one earlier in the week, or possibly later in the week, which was about things you'd come to appreciate later that you didn't like when you were younger. Is there a soft drink that you have always enjoyed, no matter how old you've gotten? You've just loved that flavor, it's always stuck with you. Pretty easy for me, and my creaky chair. I love Dr. Pepper, just like the OP of that story. I've loved it since I was a kid. It's one of my favorite flavors. I like cola in pretty much any form. In fact, the only time I didn't enjoy a cola, I think it was Rockstar Cola. Now, I like their energy drinks, but the cola one, it was only around briefly, was not great. Not to my taste buds. Although I'd probably try it if they brought a new one out, and just see if they reformulated it. And of course, I am always and have forever been a fan of ginger beer and ginger ale. I just like ginger flavor, really. Why don't you let me know what your answers are in a comment below? And before we go, let's have the answer of the day from a previous video. And this was in relation to an underrated villain, or an underrated villain design, rather. I think I chose the Cybersmen from Doctor Who. Delete, delete. Go on, love. Delete. And today's answer comes from Justin Sprungston. To me, Revolver Ocelot from Metal Gear Solid was amazing as a bad guy. I would love to see more unique bad guy characters like that in games or shows. Thank you kindly, Justin. I'm rather fond of you too. And with that, I'm going to head off for now, so until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.